everybody's going to look at it.
All right, everybody, welcome to the fan media panel. I'm by myself this year, which means that I decided to do something experimental because then I'm the only one who's at risk, along with all of you. So if you'd like to participate in this panel and not just watch, make sure you're sitting far forward as you can in the seats so that you can see what's actually going on. If you're in the back, it'll probably be trickier, and I don't have time to repeat stuff because we're on a schedule. So we're going to make a toy review together, okay? And this is not going to be my usual process because usually I don't do it in one go in a room full of people. But I still have some things that we usually do. I usually lay out like sections, intro. It's really hard to type looking at a screen. 3. Robot mode. 5. Posability. And 6, overall thoughts. That's how all my scripts look when I'm making Transformers reviews most of the time. Sometimes I flip vehicle and robot if I'm feeling randy. But Posability is usually done with live audio. If you've seen anything that I've done, if you haven't, then thanks for coming here for some reason anyway. Usually I improv that hard. Improve? What? No. We never improve. And to start things off, usually I write ladies and gentlemen. This is, and I capitalize myself because I like to feel like the special boy.
You got 2 spaces in between.
And I'm here with a crowd of weird random people. And hopefully they don't murder me.
Death Evangelist.
I forgot. That's all right.
What did you forget?
The first thing I was going to ask you guys is what we should review, but then last night, while I was having massive indigestion from some nachos and chili that the hotel had, I decided that we are going to do this gentleman, which is Overclocking, because I got him at the Repro Labels booth, somewhat used, has their labels on him, got him for $50.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Damn it.
no one knew.
Nice.
They were selling a Utopia with their labels applied for $300-some.
But who's going to get jealous, Angelus?
They also sold a Quantron with their labels applied for $375. I was there when the deal happened. Repro labels. They don't have much left anymore. That was me popping. So, the first thing I usually do when I get a toy now, because it makes for good footage over the intro, is I film the package. Because, like, you know, people who film packaging, terrible people. Who talks about packaging? I don't know. But usually I start off, and this is where if you even want to lean in a little bit, you know, take a look at the
Make sure it's in
viewfinder.
focus. You don't want it to blur.
That's right. You don't want to be too hilarious all at once. So usually I pan across this because that's when the music's playing, then I come up and it's like, hey, check it out, there's the name, and then we pull out a little bit. There's the thing, it's at a canted angle because that's how I do, and I kind of hold on that. Usually I try to make this clip about 30 seconds long so that I have enough footage, and usually I don't take more than 30 seconds to intro a toy. Big question is, do you review packaging? That's up to you, of course. Now, in my case, I don't really like to review packaging because I like to just get down to brass tacks, and usually packaging is just a box. Like, if you're gonna look at this box, like, it's like, hey, look, there's a tray inside. Oh, no. Okay, so. Let's get down to brass tacks.
Does the box flush?
The toy's over here.
Does it play?
Because y'all thought I was gonna. I want to start in vehicle mode. So, take a look at this in vehicle mode. Now, what I want you guys to do, we are gonna come up with content for these bullet points, okay? For the vehicle mode, I'm gonna put this over here for a sec, so you can all see it, you know, especially those of you in the back. And just look at it and come up with me if you want to. If you can't think of one, don't worry, there's other ones to do. Come up with a bullet point, like just a one bullet point thought you have on this vehicle mode as you see it. I'll run you through some stuff while you're thinking.
It's blue.
And then, once you come up with your bullet point, we're gonna do the Q&A mic style thing. And you just line up, give me your bullet point. We gotta do this fast, so if you don't have a bullet point, then don't worry about it. There's more to do. If you've already done a bullet point, try to let other people go forward first in case that becomes a thing. If only 2 people want to talk in the first place, then whatever, it's a 3-person review. So, just so you know about this vehicle mode, it actually rolls. There are wheels underneath. There's 3 wheels. These little thruster thingies, they move up and down on a hinge and on a ball joint. They're sculpted at a slight angle. The cockpit opens. And this has repro labels applied. If that is something you want to think about, that's up to you. I say we just pretend they're already here.
I would mention that the Reaper label.
Yeah, the Reaper labels are shiny. You know, they're all over him. And there's actually a label inside the cockpit because that's the detail orientation you do when you make stickers. So yeah, that's basically the vehicle mode. There's holes in the sides in case you're wondering. You can see me through all that. And yeah, I'm gonna keep this webcam pointed at the stuff it has to be pointed at. They probably didn't see me throw the box.
No.
Poor suckers. That's live exclusive. So look at this thing, and if you have a bullet point, let's say you got 10 seconds, get on the mic and get lined up. Don't say it yet, because I'm going to run up there and film you talking. By the way, we have like less than an hour now. So if I do end up rushing stuff a whole bunch, don't worry. I don't hate you. I hate myself, clearly. Yeah. I wanted to get this thing dark. Anyway, let me get this mic over here too, because I'm going to record you with my fancy audio. And actually, when I'm recording you with my fancy audio, could you give me a hand? Yeah. Just hold this, point it there, right about here. Just keep holding it there. All right, I'm going to give you the toy, and I'm going to flip this thing on. Get the webcam over here where I guess you can see things a bit better. There we go. Alrighty, when you are ready,
Take your time, people.
go.
It looks very sleek.
Very sleek. All right, pass to the next person.
The detailing in the mold is very good. Nice use of blue translucent plastic.
Awesome.
Everything about overclocking is raked backwards for speed, but he is a little thick and chunky for the sports car he's supposed to be.
Very salient. I'm also going to run out of adjectives, so I apologize if I say some a couple times.
Regardless, he is packing a plastic that is in a shade of blue bomber blue.
Alliteration. I knew what was going on there.
It looks like Blur.
Thank you.
That's great. This is a vehicle that doesn't exist in real life. Yet.
All right. Mine.
Come back. You don't want to cross the
Sexy.
Nisha.
Dead sexy.
Why does this look like an F-Zero vehicle? No, seriously, it does.
Super Nintendo.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Yo,
Transformers cross F-Zero. Make it happen.
Gotta go fast.
That's right. So we got the vehicle mode done. Now to go with all that, I'm going to shoot some B-roll so we can just lay it in, have some good glamour shots of this. Oh, thanks for holding that, by the way.
I'll keep
Pajama Prime on audio
Mike.
boom. Shooting here. So again, I apologize you can't see this too much more clearly, but I'm going to do some B-roll panning over the vehicle mode. And
Usually you put something funny.
it's going to go out so we get a nice 3/4 front view of the vehicle mode. Hold on that a little bit, move it around a little. I like to have the shot moving a lot because I like to pretend I'm an auteur. Sometimes people realize that why would I be auteuring toy product review? But hey, why not? Get some shots of the vehicle mode's butt. Get some of those sweet quad thrusters. Get a little bit of that hind quarters action. And then while I'm panning right on that B-roll shot, I'm going to flip it into parallel. I'm going to go into a full-side profile and still going right. I'm going to go across here so that when I do the crossfade, the motion will still be the same, and thus it's a bit smoother to look at. We got us a side view here, and then I don't know, maybe I'll do some close-ups for the features. Like when I'm talking about the cockpit opening, I'll just go close in the cockpit. My hand comes in and flips it up. Wow, that's a shot. Or I'm talking about the way that the hindquarter things move. I do a shot up here, wiggle these around. Yo! Yeah, I know, one-handed, right? Usually I'd set up a tripod, and I have a tripod over there, but we're in a rush. So, this next part is actually going to be, using the tripod, this is going to be the most complicated thing we do. This will take up the most time, and I was almost going to do this in the hotel room, but I thought it might be interesting to do it here. We're going to do the transformation. I practiced transforming this guy a bunch.
That's good.
So I'll pull this thing up into view. Now, what I like to do for the transformation is a montage, because it reminds me of old toy commercials. And honestly, like, how many times have you looked at a toy review and thought, like, hey, this is kind of just a commercial for this toy? Well, I embrace it. So this toy I saw at
100 American.
yeah, 100 American. I saw it for a 120 new at a booth.
Ooh.
I got it for 50 because I'm a scumbag. I'm just gonna borrow this chair if you guys don't mind. No, I didn't think of doing such a logical thing. All right, pull us a bit closer. I apologize that I have my back to you here, but if I didn't and I was facing you, you'd have this thing in front of you.
There's an artist over there.
You know what? Hang on. This makes more sense.
Why?
It's just another brick in the wall.
No.
You've destroyed the illusion.
Now you guys can all be in shot.
No, don't hide it.
More participation.
It over. Hooray!
So what I'm going to do differently here is usually I have a quiet set, my bedroom, when I'm filming transformation so I can get the audio of the transformation in there, like the clickety-clacks, the noises you get. But in this case, why bother? I'm going to talk you through what I'm doing. Whew! Buttoning up a shirt under these lights, bad idea. My apologies if I get a little bit glistening. So this transformation, I'm going to do this a bit fast. What? The mic dead?
Should I be closer to you for?
Oh, that? Ah, it doesn't matter. That's okay. I'm going to pull this around to point at me for a bit.
Beautiful.
Okay.
The live stream, man. Come on.
So what I'll do for the sake of simplicity here is I'm just going to switch between what I would call a wide shot and a close-up shot of the toy. And I'm going to do what's called cutting on action, or at least preparing for what's called cutting on action. So when you start transforming this toy, right, your parts forms. That comes off, this comes off. Bear this in mind while you think up a bullet point about the transformation. Pulling those things off, I'd cut away from this afterwards, go to a close-up of the next thing I'd do, which is unfastening the arms. So, unfasten the arms, and they flip this way. Now I could do this a second time and leave it at that, so I'll do it a second time. But that took a little bit longer, right? So I'm going to cut there, and I'm going to go out to a wide. I'm going to reset this a little bit, and I'm going to do it as close to what I just did as I can. So then I'm going to find a point in the action where I'm doing the exact same thing in both shots. Use what's called the 80-20 rule, where you show 80% of one shot, 20% of the other, in either direction, and cut on that to give a sort of seamless feel of it going from wide to close-up or vice versa in a way that the viewer won't notice, as opposed to them just seeing what's happening. Like, you know, you might, of course you'll see like, hey, the shot went from close to wide, etc., but you're not going to be sitting there going like, ah, the shot just cut. You're going to be going, ah, the arm's moving. You know, make sure that you're still paying attention to what you're supposed to be seeing. So we do that, and then start flipping the legs down. Now that is a big wide motion, right? Which is a perfect place to, once again, cut on action. Go in a bit closer. And then here's where I kind of pause for a second and go like, now what do I actually want to show after I unfold this? I'm thinking, let's finish the legs. So let's start going again. Up. Look all this in here. Put the crotch down. This guy has a whole separate panel for his groin. It's pretty fantastic. Swivel the legs around. Swivel that leg around. Let's hold there. Let's go in a bit closer on that leg. Go back a little bit so I can start the swivel all over again. And then start transforming the leg in full. It's gone out of focus, so I'm going to do that again. This happens constantly. I'm going to lock focus for this shot. Let's get going. So we're going to turn it like this. Down here, transform the leg. I transformed this guy about 50 times this morning.
Oh, wow.
So I'm probably still going to get some stuff wrong. Now there, it's like I can't get that panel out, right? My personal preference is not to show struggle with the transformation, but to just describe it if it happens. So I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to try again. Finger in the same position. There we go, came out, but that still took a while. So I'm going to put it back. I'm going to unlock it, put it close to being locked, cover that up with my finger, pull it out. Hey, look how easy that transformed. By the way, that's how sometimes commercials can deceive you. They hide the struggle. Am I hiding the struggle? Am I a commercial? I don't know. That's the artistic question of YouTube.
You need a montage music.
Now, this doesn't look like a robot yet, but we're about half done. I'm going to go out to a wide shot again, and this time I'm not going to worry about cutting on action. Sometimes I just let shots go to shots, and cutting on action's fun. It's fun for me, at least. I like to have it in there, but if it's not going to fit, it doesn't fit. So, starting from here, we're in a wide shot. We're going to have the waist swivel around and collapse this thing down. That took a little bit long. Okay, let's try that again. We're going to have the waist swivel around, the arms out of the way, swivel that down, boom, boom, boom. Okay, flip them around, and then while I'm doing stuff, that's a great way to use caught on action to just cover for the fact that it's tricky to get from one position to the next. So I'm going to go closer, have this come down, then split this backpack piece open, swivel the head up. Okay, so I'm swiveling the head up there. As in close up, we're going to go to wide again, because this backpack actually is a little bit of a jerk to get all the way extended out. And the arms now being in this position, you might think they teleported. They were out of shot last time, so while they were off screen, they magically went from here to here. So that's another trick I like to use, just again to save some time on the transformation in the final product, the final video. You don't have to see all of this stuff like the finagling things. I know that's actually a preference of some people, and I think that you can't really have it one way and the other. It's one way or the other. So that's just how I prefer to do things. We're going to go to wide here, get going, and we're going to say the head comes up, threads through the backpack, which closes around the armature that brought the head up from his butt to his neck. Swivel these things up, and we're going to go to a close-up shot just to show these things going up and getting out of the way to close his butt flap, because his butt flap now closes over the butt of the figure. The things come up here, we close the butt into a solid plate that has a seam running up the back side, get his arms down into position, go back to a wide shot, get his arms down into position, get his backpack folded around into the right place, and then we pull an arm out, and that's a real fun thing to watch, right? So let's do it again. There I might cut on the action of like just seeing me start to struggle with the plastic, and then from here I'll just cut when it starts moving. That's where going frame by frame helps. If you find the frame where the motion blur of the motion's happening and you cut on that, it feels a little bit smoother. Someone's bird just sang. So here we go. Blam, and then we swivel this to the right, and then he's got actually a really pleasant hand reveal. We're gonna do that one more time in wide since we just saw it in close up. When it comes to limb transformations, I'd like to show one from one angle and one from the other, or one in close and one in wide, just so that you're not seeing the exact same thing twice in a row. And you're able to, in my mind anyway, you're able to get a little bit more information out of it by seeing it from those two angles or two different views. And that way I don't have to say all that stuff out loud, like, you know, little implicit things like, hey, this bit moves like this and this. Like, you're just seeing it, and I don't need to, like, straight up tell you that the arm is sliding at, then being swiveled, then the double hinge, boopity boop, and we're done transforming him, hooray! Yay. And then sometimes, if there's a dynamic head reveal, which there isn't on this toy, sadly, I'd wait till the very end, find this really cool, like, 3/4 angle, right? And then I'd be all like, bam! Get my hands off shot, then turn the toy to the camera as though it's alive. I don't know why I do that, I just think it looks cool. Anyway, that's the transformation done. Now, if you had any thoughts on that transformation while we were barreling through it, and hey, we're not even at 1:30 yet. Good job, everyone.
Awesome.
If you had any thoughts, line up now. Remember, one bullet point, we want to do this quick. I just touched the lens of my camera because I'm real smart.
Oh, no.
It's okay, it happens all the time. Let's see, what do I want to do? I'm going to take the robot with me. Thank you, PJP, for being my boom man. Hold on to this for a sec. I just got to get the webcam over here.
That joke was made like nice.
I don't care.
Is that Malwave?
Yeah, that's not what making fun of me.
It's okay, he's still in high school. Ba-bum! I hate setting up webcams because they work in reverse to how they look in the monitor. Ah, okay, there we go. That's good enough. All right. We'll do the accessories later. Let's just focus on this for now. All right, bullet points on the robot modes, go!
So the first thing you do is take the shield off so you can lose it, just like the G1 toy.
Yes! By the way, bullet points on the transformation. That was my mistake.
He decompresses from vehicle mode and recompresses the robot mode nicely, but the use of parts forming tarnishes this otherwise really fun transformation.
Fun, and he wasn't even doing it.
It's amazing how an F-Zero type looking robot can go to being such a chunky and very impressive looking stature. That didn't Englishly work, but
If it helps at all, that happens to me constantly. In fact, that gets through into the recording sometimes when I start mixing up plural and singular. And it's quite embarrassing because this is my first language. Oh, into this mic is fine. Yeah.
While not a dynamic head reveal, going from point A to point B is very fun.
I hope it was fun to watch from over there. It was.
It was good for all of us.
And during transformation, why is his head on a rope?
Good point. that is something about this toy's transformation I thought was kind of keen and kind of weird, is it's on a stick, basically, that like, you split the backpack open so the stick can swing around here, and it like fake parts forms his head from here to his groin. And it's kind of like those VF1s, those Macross toys where they have little armatures that like move the legs to the nose cone rather than, you know, just taking them off and sticking them on. I don't know much about Macross. I just know Graham from Macross World put up a big ass video about the VF1s back in the day. All right, so we're gonna talk about the robot mode now, and this is going to be a little brief because talking about it, I don't want to do too much talking. I want you guys to do the talking, but I should let you know a few things about the robot mode. Posability aside, the focus when I do the robot mode discussion, usually I would call it robot mode paint and sculpt. In this case, we're going to also be covering his accessories, and
Because usually you cover that in
yeah, usually the accessories. I used to give the accessories a separate section, but then I realized that was just like an extension of robot mode, so I simplified it. And this is just like stuff nobody even sees. This is my dumb script that I usually do in Celtex. So, get these lights around here, because we're also going to shoot some robot mode B-roll. Oh, I'm going to, and you guys just, you know, take the credit for it if people ask. Like I got everyone, if anyone asked on this panel when everyone got to handle the camera and shoot all the B-roll, I stood in the back, like, smoking an e-cig and, like, drinking Zima and taking all the credit for everything. Zima's still a punchline in 2015. I've never even had any. What's it taste like? All right.
Lies and deception.
Point this at this.
I got a question.
We have a question over there.
Do you want a figure to... Do you want to... And I have an extra figure you can borrow. Do you want something to pose it with at the end?
Sure, or you can size compare it.
No, I got...
People like size comparisons in video reviews. They really do.
I have a shoe.
Honestly, keep that shoe ready for me. Because I hate scientific size comparison, and I don't know why.
Here's the thing. I've been watching your reviews for a while. I used to think the SH Figure Arts figures were really big because I couldn't get the scale from them from your fingers.
Yeah, I've got very weird hands.
Yeah, they're a little bigger than I was expecting them to be in person. But
He's not talking about penises, he's talking about Kamen Riders. Kind of the same thing, kind of not. I like Kamen Riders. So, I'm going to film some B-roll of this robot mode. Usually what I do for the robot mode B-roll is I get the guy standing, as you do. I try to keep him standing in as neutral a pose as we can. I do better usually, but I think I'm just going to wing this a little bit. Try to light him so you can see him. I like to start off pointing at his feet because like Quentin Tarantino, and then we kind of roll up his body, get up to the head, and then without focusing on the head, start to zoom out to give a full body shot. That way I feel like the viewer gets a pretty clear look at, you know, the whole of the generality of the front of the robot mode. We hit about 15 seconds, then I spin him around, and I trying to keep him in the same general angle so he can just reuse the lighting setup. Go in on the back of his ankles because that guy from Densho Otoko, when we go up here, yes, someone laughed? Yes. You're my hero. Okay, we get the rear. The rear I actually don't usually focus on that much because honestly, who stands their robots facing away from them when they look at them? Not many people, except for that guy in the back. That's okay, you know, yellow shirt, that's privilege.
They're in the combined mode.
I like to go for the third B-roll shot from my usual package. Flip him so he's directly facing me, go real close on one of his legs, and I kind of travel diagonally up his body to get a bit of a, whoa, we went out of focus, hang on. Diagonally up his body to get a bit of a closer look at some of the detail. And then kind of pan around it a bit. And then often this just sort of turns into a close-up of the head sculpt, which I often give some particular thought or like separate paragraph. Because, you know, the head sculpt of a robot toy, or of any toy really, of a biped or quadruped is important. Like that's their identity in a way. You know, it's what they look like. So you're gonna pan, try to do a bit of a, not quite 180, I guess 160 arc around the head so you can get a decent view of what it looks like from several angles. And then that's usually most of the B-roll. Sometimes I'll flip them sideways if I feel like the backpack or the body bulk is worth bringing up. Let's do a bit of a
In this case, it might be just for the
sideways shot. Sometimes I do this just to have extra footage to kill time because I put in too much talking because I'm long-winded. And then There's one other thing I should show you about. So now we're going to go into more of the accessory weaponry type stuff. I'm going to go grab the tripod from over here for a second, so I need both hands to do this. Usually I just use the tripod. Sometimes I do one-hand stuff if I'm just like really in a rush or just like, I just want to do this. And I say that out loud to myself because it's got to motivate. He's got a hidden thing on him, which is that his shoulders have stuff in them. Now, when I'm on a tripod, that means I can lock focus, which is helpful. But basically, these things flip up.
Have fingers?
We'll find out in the posability section. Now, I bumped the camera a whole lot during that, so I'm going to do that one more time. Move this closer. Set the focus to this, and we're going to get going here. And he's got Macross missile pods in his shoulders.
Awesome.
Hooray. Those are accessible in the car mode, but they shoot straight up, and I don't think that would really help him that much.
Actually, no. They could be homing missiles.
Moon patrol?
Yeah, they're just
shoot them up and then like a few seconds later they fall down.
And blow up everything behind him? I don't know. I don't think of Blur as a missile man. This seems kind of weird to me, but whatever.
It looks cool, but
So, we're going to do the accessories, and then we'll almost be done this thing. For his accessories, he's got a shield and a gun thing. So the shield's going to be real easy to talk about, because we just go like, it's a shield that plugs onto his arm. So I'll just take a shot of the toy, take this, plugs onto his arm.
Pretty simple.
Now, his other thing is a bit weirder, and I got to show it transforming. So from the block it was in I'll go close up too, so we're not going from like the same shot to the same shot. But it starts off as this kind of brick, and then you fold it around like this, fold it inside out up here. Now it's a gun, and that gun can happily go into his hand. And now he's holding a gun. And then usually here I shoot like a quick bit of B-roll of him just like waving his accessories around just in case I need the extra time. Put him in a real unique pose, the Transformer with one leg bent, one leg straight, kind of pointing his gun off to the side and holding his shield at you.
Yep.
Looks real sexy, doesn't actually do anything in battle, but, you know.
Dangerous stuff.
Yeah, as you do. Get a nice up angle on that. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Yeah.
Is it a target master?
No.
Okay.
Good question, though. There's one other thing that this gun does. And this thing is my favorite part, actually. Get this in here. Let's get him off to one side. What we're going to do is turn this thing inside out in a slightly different way. So it goes, it goes flip open like this, fold this back out, fold the other two claws out. Now it's a triple clawed weapon, as Blur is known for.
Yeah.
And then we go close up to his arm. And then we'll slip it over his hand. Slip it over his hand. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Here, I forgot to do one other thing. I'll just leave this I'll make it look like this is part of the edit, but then we come over here and fold this part up. And then this can slide over his hand. This part, does this fold down? Thought it did. Oh, well, let's leave it like that. The clean shot shows it going over his hand. From there, we're going to crossfade to something showcasing his new Wolverine claw.
Snick it.
As Blur is known for.
Animate Blur.
Well, he had a chainsaw. I'd call that slightly different than a Wolverine claw. We're going to do a little bit of a focus pull here to have the claw come into focus as we're talking about it. And then ba-ba-ba. There we go. Now, you've seen everything about the robot mode barring the posability, so focusing on paint or sculpt or weaponry, or if you get it all into one sentence, everything in between. Line up there, and we're going to do the penultimate discussion about stuff. Let's get this. You. All right. This helps. Okay, I'm going to get you in shot. And when you're ready to go, go!
SXS decided to go for a spotlight blur design, except for the turbines being more than one. Although they did nail the Guido Guidi head. Nice job.
For Blur's accessories, him having a claw seems a little more appropriate than him having a big bulky gun to weigh him down, but as fast as he is, it also makes the shield seem somewhat redundant.
I have many things to say about this, but sadly, we are on a limited time, and we are not John Machida Jr.
That's true, none of us are.
No.
Let's get him
I guess you could say he turns into some kind of micro machine man.
Yes!
How do you follow that? The color separations on the figure is very well done. The use of clear plastic gives that glowing energon look pretty well. If you're a G1 Blur fan, this might not necessarily be for you, but if you like the IDW style, it's definitely something to take a look at.
He's a bit square and blocky in his robot mode and doesn't look particularly fast, but the 4 giant jet turbines on his back probably mean he can zip across the battlefield pretty good.
Go. Got one more.
Two more. Oh, 2 more. Okay. Jeez, I was last in line when I started. I want to talk about this guy.
His head isn't cartoon accurate, but I probably wouldn't spend $250 on an accurate head.
Unless you're a huge Blur fan. And there's a huge fan for everyone, turns out.
Yeah.
All right.
It's dreamy. Good enough for me.
Is that twice now?
Yeah, there are huge fans out there.
Remember, rule of 3. So what we're going to do now is check the time on my clock over here. All right, still on schedule. Now, this part I'm going to do a little bit less collaboratively, and just like last year for the sake of time, we're going to do the posability section, but with all of you in the background. So, I don't know, if you want to, like, wave foam fingers or, you know, say what all the time.
What? Forgot my phone finger.
No, like the wrestling fans do, not like the...
What? Turn down for what?
What? Okay. You're also doing a good job of filling for while I get the tripod over here. Thank you very much for that. So I gotta wivel this webcam back around, put it down at the figure this time.
Read this book.
And if I could have the mic for a second, I'm just gonna set it up over here. Sure. Up. I'll give it back to you afterwards. All right. Is something? Oh. That sounds like a microphone I had back in grade school. I used when I did an audio production of a fan fiction of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in grade 1. I played Marvin the Robot. I had an echo mic. It sounded terrible.
It's a vocoder app and a speaker.
It was not a vocoder for sure. It was a microphone with a spring inside that made your voice echo when you put it in your mouth and started talking.
Oh yeah, those are fun as a kid. Yeah, I know. Those are fun.
All right, I'm gonna get these accessories out of the way. Usually I try to keep these out of the way in posability mode unless they're posability section, unless they are, you know, highly important. So we'll get him into a pose and get this recording. The light really on him here. I'm gonna do I don't need to do this time, but I'm gonna do the clap that I usually do to synchronize my sound because I record separate audio. A lot of people tend to feel like synchronizing audio manually is a huge deal. It honestly isn't after you've done it a bunch of times. It becomes very second nature of just like, oh, there's the spike. Okay. So, posability section during the panel. And here we go. SXS Blur has a very hard name to say because SXS are 3 letters that suck to say right after each other. Sorry, guys. Anyway. He's overclocking. Thank you. His head is on a ball joint, and it's got a whole lot of waggle, a whole lot of forward back. He can do basically anything with that neck joint, and it's a real simple ball joint you can just pop right off. That does mean that if you want to get like a different Blur head sculpt, if for some reason you don't want this one, you want something that's maybe a bit more like Corin Howell or something like that. Corin Howell? Did I get that right? Corin Howell? Yeah, thank you. Then someone could make one of those and you can just like slap it right on there. As for his shoulders, there is a somewhat detented hinge here, partly for the transformation, but that gets the whole shoulder pod going up and down. It also can go forward and backwards. And then there's a joint in here, a ball socket joint of all things, connecting the bicep that allows some outward motion this way, and a little bit of rock and creak in there. It's also the bicep swivel. There's a under the bicep swivel, right under the elbow hinge, which goes about that far and about just under 90 degrees. He's got a ball socket for his wrist, and his fingers do open, and they look pretty good when they're open. He's got kind of pointy fingers, so if he doesn't like another racer, someone's all like, hey, you could stand to lose a few pounds, you can just claw their eyes out if he doesn't use his claw. He's got a waist swivel that's pretty much unimpeded, despite having lots of chunk here and lots of butt chunk down there. The thrusters are still, somewhat posable if you want to adjust them for his robot mode. His hips go forward and backwards enough. They can't go all the way back, they can't go all the way forwards, but maybe a little bit more forward motion would have been okay, but you would have had to engineer an entire separate swiveling gimmick into his skirt, and why bother, right? His outward motion is on a detent, and this is the bummer. So it's on a detent, and there are 3 clicks. 1, 2, 3. Now he's Van Damme out. Same on this side. So he can Van Daminate, but he's got Combiner Wars Optimus hips for the outward motion, and that's a super bummer. The upside is the gear is so soft, you can really easily just get him in between clicks, and it doesn't resist very much. So it's a lot more of an implied detent. Thus, it's a lot nicer than a clicky Combiner Wars Optimus detent. So it's not that big a problem, but at a first glance, it's like, it's an ongoing thing with not just like these toys or Combiner Wars toys, just like a lot of toys coming out lately, mostly official, I admit, have this thing of there are not enough teeth in the gears. These gears are soft, not that big a deal. There's a thigh swivel that is unimpeded. There is a double jointed knee that's got an awesome range of curl, given that there's all this bulk back here. So it's not faking it. The proportions are nice enough that you can really see the motion when it's bent. I really dig it. His feet are on a ball socket connection, so they can tilt, they can tap, they can do all that. He's real easy to stand. He's built real nice. Like SXS originally released continuously variable, which by all accounts I never handled one. A lot of people said it felt like it was made out of soap bottles, and I've not heard much good about it as far as its build quality. This guy feels dead solid. Like some of you have been holding him. Doesn't feel creaky. He can take a backflip like that pretty well. I'm not going to throw him because there's no wall over there. Like maybe if I put the wall over here, I can do that. He can really take it. I don't want to throw him too much because he's got repro labels on him, and those were never meant to be thrown. But posability is good on this guy. I really like him. He feels great, and everything else would go into overall thoughts, which we're now going to start bullet pointing, start thinking of them. Cut that. So in overall thoughts, what I like to do, I try not to repeat myself. I try not to say things over again. I do constantly anyway. But I actively try to think of ways to summarize the figure, summarize what I'm saying using new language in about 2 or 3 paragraphs. The last paragraph is usually just a joking one anyway, so 2 paragraphs. And this is something I know does not go over well with lots of people. I tend to try to avoid saying, I recommend buying it, or I recommend not buying it. Because our tastes are so varied, Transformers are now so varied. A recommendation comes with so many caveats. I'd rather just say the caveats and not the recommendation. Unless it just outright sucks, I'd say I think this sucks. It's not really worth the money. In the case of this guy, I would say he runs at around $100, and it's a bit of a bummer. He's an unbelievable $50 toy. He's an excellent $60, $70 toy. I feel like the $100 price point mostly comes from SXS. I would hypothesize not having a good factory connection. I think it comes down to the production costs. There are tons of parts count on this guy. The sheer number of separate pieces on this guy for his size is quite high. I think that if SXS had a better factory connection, he would have come out at much closer to your usual Mastermind Fans Project price points. But that's me coming up with ideas for why things are there. And it should be up to you as the person coming up with your bullet point to say, regardless of that, do I think it's all right? As for build quality, etc., hopefully, some of you guys have handled them while you're up there. I'm going to hand them to you when you say your bullet points. So if something changes, then you have your opportunity. My camera's over here. In general, I kind of like this guy. I think his head sculpt could have stood to be a bit more cartoonish, but or a bit more comic-ish. It feels a little G1 generic to me in the face, mostly the lips and the eyes. If I could swap a different face in even, and it looks like maybe I can, it seems like a separate piece, then that would be cool. But I like him a lot, and I'm really surprised how much I like him. He's built really well, and I hope SXS can continue making stuff and hopefully get a better in with the factory to bring some of their costs down, if that's feasible, if that is the reason why. I don't know about toy production that much, so he could cost that much simply because of all the pins and separate pieces, and that's that. I don't think SXS is in a position to be trying to make a massive profit off this guy, because does anyone know what continuously variable is? Nope. Okay, there you go. So if you've got a bullet point, go ahead and line up. This is for overall thoughts on the figure. Just like summarizing everything. You can just come up with like a sentence about your thoughts on the figure.
I'm trying real hard to come up with a summary for this.
I just want to go last.
So we got someone bookmarking the last place in the lineup, which is not something I was expecting.
I don't care.
Thank you, PJP. You're on the mic duty again. Get the camera on. Swivel this webcam around. This, by the way, is why most really cool operations have a team. Imagine if I was trying to do what he's doing while doing all this.
You need
I would have died during this panel. So I would have tangled up in some cables, flipped over, gone headfirst through that mic, but I would have actually been strangled by that purple cable right there.
Oh,
Yeah. That one. I can tell you right now, I'm a professional. I know what I'm seeing. That one right there would have got me in the end. All right. Overall thought bullet points. We are recording, so whenever you're ready. Oh, wait a second.
I'll just stand here, wait.
This is an amazing.
All right. Now, whenever you're ready, go for it.
Okay. Overall, I think they did a decent job getting this ready for production, for people to play with, or even just collectors who are just going to put it on in one pose. Again, like we saw earlier, you can have your Running Man.
Yeah.
It takes a few design liberties, but it aims to be a good IDW design blur toy, and in that I think it succeeds in having both a good-looking robot mode and vehicle mode, and an interesting transformation.
So I'm ignorant of all the IDW stuff. I will say that for being covered in repro labels, I don't really notice where those labels are. So the extra money to accurize it may not be something you want to spend.
Overall, I like the color. I can forgive the parts forming for the transformation, and G1 toy did the same thing, so if you're looking for G1-iness, then expect that. But if you're looking for IDW, and you don't expect that, then, well, happy shopping.
Your life is over.
This is the blurriest blur that isn't named Blur.
That's true. I'm trying to work on the focus, I'm sorry.
Let's see.
Let me hold it back for a sec, just so that you don't want to get that in the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Russell,
Thank
don't
you
worry.
so much. Well, overall, it's a very well sculpted figure, but as previously mentioned, there is too many panels and folding, and I think they oh my god.
Don't worry, I do it all the time.
SXS went a bit too fast with their production.
In the end, he looks like a pretty good rendition of Blur. And if that does the job for you, then the quote Blur, absolutely positive, then we can get the job done faster than he can. Nobody.
That's actually a good way to end the video. That's a good way to end the video. See, I would have ended this video thinking it'd be great if I did some Blur talk, and I would have spent 3 hours hunched over a microphone, constantly screwing it up because I can't talk that fast. Now there's B-roll I'd usually do, over all that stuff, just like action poses and things. For the sake of time, I'm thinking I'll do that later. I'm going to be doing the editing of this later too. We've got about
8 minutes.
Yeah, 8-9 minutes left. So let's just do some Q&A if you have any, just about producing videos or anything about whatever. You can use the mic if you want. It'll be louder. Just fill in some talk time here. Yeah, you want to use the mic?
Yeah, sure.
All right. What the hell? Oh, sure. I'm going to mill around here, but I will be hearing and answering what you're saying.
So when it comes to sort of transforming certain transformers, we're in shots where it's sort of supposed to be a scene and it sort of looks like they're transforming on their own. How difficult is that to do, sort of?
You mean where it looks like it's dramatized and they're
Yeah, sort of in the Fort Max video, or in when you reach the end of a combiner and you sort of do that whole sequence where they combine together.
Yeah, that stuff, the way that I keep my hands in a shot in a lot of ways is, again, thanks to the editing program giving me freedom to move things. So when you shoot with DSLR, for instance, I believe you can go to about 150% size without losing a whole lot of image fidelity, especially once it gets, the bit rate is changed for YouTube. So I'll shoot stuff where my hands are in shot, knowing that I will post-production, we move the camera in and out, left and right, etc., to keep them out of shot. As for like storyboarding in my head and everything, like it's really haphazard. I don't do things according to process at all. But it's sort of just ideas that come to me in the shower, you know? And I'm like, I think it'd be cool to do this, and I'll just, if I can't, thanks by the way, if I can't think of something to do, I'll just start doing it and just see what ideas come to mind while the combination's happening. Of like, yo, it'd be really cool if we just cut to a close-up of these things going wham, because that way I don't have to just show them going together.
And do you still want to do like a comparison shot with my shoe? Or
Sure, bring it over.
All right.
Hold your breath.
What size is your shoe?
Does anyone have this? Leave that part out. That makes this like classic useless comparisons. No one has this shoe yet. This comes straight from China. Stolen Chinese shoe.
It's that Optimus Prime toy that turned into a shoe.
This is bigger than that guy. Size comparison with a New Balance 609, brown and black tan stripe. All right, thanks very much. Yeah, next question.
Question about lighting. Do you usually find like cold regular light with like yellow tints be okay, or you just do it with the white balance on your camera?
So I usually just do the white balance in post and in the camera.
Okay.
Because I've through sheer fortune just found a combination that works. Like I find I'm able to get everything to balance out nicely, and like Final Cut 7 has a really decent bunch of white balance and things for what I'm doing, since it's just an object in a background. I mean, definitely, if you could plan ahead and get a lot of white light, it'll look better before you have to do anything. And the saying is, the less you have to do aside from filming the thing, the better. Like the most that's done in the real world and not in post-production, the better. But I mean, of course, you want to white balance your camera for whatever your scene is. In this case, I didn't because again, scumbagging it for time.
So if someone don't have like a editing software, you recommend using white light probably then?
I mean, if you're on a Mac, iMovie's fine. If you're on a PC, you didn't hear this from me, but I hear Sony Vegas is pretty piratable, and Sony Vegas is fine. Like a lot of people use Sony Vegas. So we're running out of time. So one last person. Where did this come from? Oh,
No, we have 2 last people. But
two last people. Sure, just go quick.
Generic question. What, in your personal opinion, is the worst toy you've ever reviewed?
Probably the Jazzware Street Fighter toy I saw in Toys R Us that had broken in the package and I didn't buy it. I did the review on the podcast. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
How do you do the writing like on the video camera?
Oh, the subtitles?
Yeah.
Well, you know, we come to a business agreement. They come in for post-production. They line up there. And I have 2 preset like 3-second and 4-second texts that fade in, fade out in Futura fonts, and basically there's no system for it. But I try to have them come in around about every 30 seconds. Sometimes I do them all in one go. Sometimes I do them while the video is being edited if I need to procrastinate from filming something. And it all came from like back in 2008 when I started. I kept refilming my first video because I wasn't happy with it, and I thought I'll never get a video made if I keep refilming it, so I'll just call out all the stuff I don't like, and it turned into whatever it turned into. By the way, nothing against Street Fighter. This is total coincidence. Thanks for your question. Thanks, Misha, for handling stuff. Thanks, BJP, for handling the mic. Hey, thank you all for coming in.